Hello everyone and welcome back to ReplayWorks and welcome back to another revision for the Blue-Green 1-Year War deck. So this is the third revision of this deck that I've been working on. I played it a few weeks ago. I took some time off from playing tournaments to play other jank decks to little success. But I figured I'd show this off since it is about the time we're approaching regionals, and I'll be playing in the Dallas, Texas regional. So I'm not going to be playing this revision. I'll probably be playing either this build or another build that I'm trying to play test this week. But just wanted to show it off just to talk about some of the cards that did or did not work for me. Right. But before I get into the card by card, just a quick reminder, if you are liking this type of content, if you do like the channel, if you like me, and like listen to me talk about Gundam all day, please leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It means a lot to me. We're creeping up on 350, soon to be 400, and I really want to keep this momentum going because, man, I love this game a lot. I cannot get enough of playing this game, to be honest, and just building decks and rebuilding decks. But yeah, just a quick reminder, subscribe to the channel, it means a lot. So without further ado, let's get into the card by card, right? So we're gonna see a lot of familiar faces, obviously this being a Shamro deck. I'm just gonna abbreviate these two to be that. It's gonna be 4 and 4, so those are always just gonna be in the deck until I decide to cut one of them for whatever reason to pivot the deck in a different way. We've seen a lot of the Shenlong decks pop up where you cut Char completely, so then you play Shenlong with Amuro, which makes sense. You know, Shenlong's a really good top end. Char is the only benefit of being a level 3 link unit, so that means you can put him down early. He hits for 5, so you can break bases pretty easily. You know, it's a whole different type of strategy if you decide to play Shenlong. But since I'm devoted to trying to make this deck work as best as possible, you know, we're going to be playing the Shamro build from here on in. And, you know, with that comes the usual suspects with the Zaku 2s for Char. And then Char's Gelgu I did cut down to 2. That one is a card that, you know, I used to play it at 4, then I went down to 3, and I always felt that this card kind of clogs because you're really never going to use this unless you either are going for game. And it really is like kind of like a trap to play on turn 4, right? You don't, there's better things you can do. You could pop down 2, you know, you can put down 2 units on turn 4 instead of playing down Char's Gelgu, right? So I figured, you know, I cut it down all the way down to 2. If I see it towards the end game, great. If not, then at least I know it doesn't clog, right? Making that conscious decision because, you know, compared to, let's say, the Gundam, right, the other level 4 card in the deck, right, I would rather see this on turn 4 because this can pump up the little guys pretty well. Links with Amuro if I have Amuro. Yeah, it works out way better and has more staying power than Char's Gelgu. So that's just one reason that he's now down to 2. But let's start at the low end, right? We have 4 Dops. Still a huge fan of Dops. It's probably the only good turn 1 play in the game. So, you know, if I go first, I'm okay. As long as I can mulligan for a Dop, I'm able to like get some early board presence. And most of the times, I just leave this on the field, unless I can, you know, unless it goes in a scenario where I go Dop turn 1, turn 2, put down 2 different Zakus. This one especially, and then if they don't put down a blocker, or if their blocker isn't like, I don't know, if it's like a ward or something, then I can just start swinging for the fences. But in this case, is in other decks where if a deck they're not playing blockers, then what I would end up doing is Zaku 2 breaks EX base, then I just swing Dop into shield, Dop into shield, then Zaku 2 into shield, right? So it's a really good early like 3-card attacks, right? But after that, you know, it's useless. It's just there to kind of fish for the pilots that I need in the deck. As a friend told me that for the Dop, if it's not a pilot, you're gonna put that on the bottom, right? And it's something that's I need to remind myself every now and then. Like you can see a shiny unit, like you put it down, you might see a goof that you want to play. No, you need the pilots, you need to dig, you need to go get Amuro or Char into your hand because otherwise this deck really does fall apart towards the mid-late game, right? And the whole point of it is to get that link off to deal the last point of damage, and you do need Char in order to like have easy access to that as well. Or Amuro, you know, Amuro's also there to help out. Okay, so from here we have 3 gun tanks. I've been a big fan of the gun tanks as another low-cost card. It's not played on turn 2. Well, no, it's not played on turn 2. There's no way to actually like capitalize on it that early. It's maybe like a turn 3, turn 4 when your opponent starts to actually swing. because what they'll do is if you do the early aggression, they'll probably kill your Zaku 2 or try to kill your Dop, live at 1. The gun tank is there to finish off the job. Good, it's a good way to just like deal the extra damage and ping. Furthermore, it is a white base unit, so G Fighter will eventually be able to give it high maneuver if you need to. In this case, I'm only playing 2 G Fighters. I don't think it's super necessary to have this early on. Again, just like Char's Galgu, it's meant to finish the game and not really there to be actually played on the turn that you can play it. I would rather just play the gun cannons, right? 3 gun cannons right here. I've been a big fan of this since the Earth Federation deck popped up on our radars. Because it is, with Sayla in the deck, it does allow it to link and have a counterplay on turn 3 against other aggro decks, right? And the way I play the aggro mirror is that I won't be the aggressor, I'll let them be the aggressor for a few turns, and then I will proceed to use my guys to trade off their board, right? And Gun Cannon helps that trade off of the board because I'll be able to, if I do the Sayla link, that's repair 2, and if they don't swing, Gun Cannon allows me to rest their guys for my guys to start swinging at them, right? So I can break that little stalemate and push through to wipe their board, and then I'll go on the aggressive and start wiping out their shields, right? So it is fine if we were still in a rush meta. Right now we're in a green-white meta on early September, right? At the time of this recording. So Rev 3 did work against certain rush decks, against the rush mirror, but as we go into regionals, I'm expecting we're heavy on blockers, right? And that's why it's good for what the meta calls for. It is a meta call to play the Gun Cannon and the Sayla if you need to deal with rush decks in your meta, right? And I think it's okay to cut them if you need to, depending on evolve the deck, because at the end of the day, the core concept is the same. You want to get the link units, you want to have early presence with the Zakus and the Dop. And then the rest of it is all just kind of like the tools that you use to try to push for those last couple of shields and go for game as the game's already stabilized, right? So now from here, another new addition is the Goof. Goof, I've been a big fan of now, just like how Corsica Base is a card that's great on curve. If you go first, you plop it down turn 3, you get some early board presence. Goof is fantastic in that sense where, hypothetically, you go Dop turn 1, turn 2 double Zaku, turn 3 Goof, that's 5 units. You have 5 units by turn 3. Your opponent most likely will have maybe 1 or 2 blockers, right? So you can just indiscriminately start swinging at defenses. So I think the early Goof is great for board presence. Just like Goof, Corsica Base, right? That's a card that's been showing up in the list a lot, and I'm also now a fan because I realized by turn 3, you can put this down. Again, everyone wants to go second, right? If you go first, not a big deal because you put this down as you are anticipating a Lifrit play or someone to play a Lifrit. You put it down and it's a hard counter for that because then they'll have to decide to either swing into it or block it or let this card break the EX base, right? And then the little Zakus can then run wild. So I like in that sense. I also like that you can play the card early. Then later on, when you need to establish board again, you get the 1/1s, right? So it helps fill out the rest of the field, especially when you're playing against a deck that's slower that don't have as many blockers as you have units, right? So it's one of those cards that it really works. However, in playing the deck, I was not a fan of 3 because what happened was that I would see all 3 back to back to back on within my draws, and it's one of those things where it is good on that turn, but there's sometimes I want to be able to play other cards because when I play this deck, I find that my opponent is trying to answer my board. Great, they're not breaking my base, so it kind of feels like you get the mentality of it's kind of minus to destroy my own Corsica base to get the other tokens next turn. Realistically, I shouldn't feel that way. I feel like on reflection, it should just be like just say whatever. This game is not supposed to end with me having a destroyed base or anything like that. It's not supposed to let my opponent even attack my base. They got to keep dealing my field, right? So for me, it's just a reminder that playing this card is okay because I'm there really for the 1/1 tokens and the extra card getting out of shield, right? So that's just a me thing that I've worked through. Aside from that, the last couple units, right? We got the Gundam, right? 3 of. I think I've always played 3 of. I don't think I've ever gone up to 4. I like 3. 3's been a very, very comfortable number for me. because again, there's only 5 cards at level 4. Everything else is just being able to play 2 cards every single turn, starting on turn 2, right? That's how I engineered the deck. It works out very well. Then Gundam as well. If the game is a little bit slower and I haven't swung yet, by putting down the Gundam, and like I mentioned before, linking it or pairing it, it will allow me to start swinging with my guys, because this Zaku swings for 4, the Dop swing for 2, Zaku swings it for 3, right? So it becomes much better for me if they decide to block when I'm starting to push on them. So I think that's fantastic as well. 2 show resolves is in the deck. Yeah, it's fine. 2 is like probably the maximum I could probably play in this deck without clogging. Earlier builds used to play 4 when I was first playing out this deck, but 2 is what I'm settling on. Maybe 1. I've seen a lot of lists play 1, but for me 2 works out pretty well, where it's just when you hit turn 6, turn 7, and you try to end the game because they're most likely at 1 or no shields, the show resolves helps me dig, because with the way the math works is that if I'm at level 6, I'm able to try to get a Char Link play or an Amuro with the G Fighter or Gun Cannon play, try to end the game. Or if I'm at level 4, then every single one of my Link's units is on a viable target to just dig for, especially when I need to get the Char's Gelgoog to literally be the last card to end. So having this here is just a little insurance when the game drags on. Any more, I think, is too many. And now, just to end the rest of the list, intercept orders. This one, man. So I've seen this in the Japanese list. I've seen this in other people's builds. It is mainly for the Rush Mirror, because it does only when you play it from your hand, it only rests 2 units that have 3 or less HP, which involves none of the blockers except for Zawart and the 1/1s, I guess. But it does involve a bunch of weenies, right? If they have a full board of guys, it'll stop their assault. However, we are not in that meta anymore, and just like the gun cannon, it is a meta call, right? So I personally am going to try to put back 2 siege plays in instead of intercept orders, because most of the times when I was playing this against a blocker deck, I stare at this card and I say, wow, I wish this was a siege play, because it would be so much more useful. So with that being said, that's definitely getting cut. It's one of those things where, again, just like gun cannon, meta call depends on what you feel. If you see less blockers, play intercept orders. They'll do you pretty well. If you see more blockers against you, don't play it. Play siege play. Siege play is way better. But yeah, this deck has been working pretty well. But just some minor tweaks here, just some changes out. Right, the gun cannons get swapped out. Sailor probably gets swapped out. Intercept orders, and I'll put down the Corpus base down to 2. And that's really all the stuff I can really in terms of flex spots, right? Because I feel like at the core of it, everything else in terms of ratio feels comfortable to me, right? 2 G fighters, the 3 gun tanks, nothing more. The 3 Gundams as well, right? Trying to make sure I still have a lot of Xeon units to try to not whiff on Char Zakutu, which does happen, but whatever. Yeah, so trying to make sure that this is still as lean as possible. Just again, there's I think 5, 6, maybe 7 if you count the extra show resolve. 6 to 7 flex spots for me to switch out depending on the meta. But since we are going to blocker a heavy green-white meta, and most green-white decks tend to not do anything for the first 4 turns of the game, it's this deck's job to try to end the game by turn 5, turn 6 before they can restabilize, right? So I'm going to try to work on that in the next revision. I'll probably be playing that list for Dallas, or my other fun deck. That's going to be a nice surprise if I can get that off the ground in testing this week. But yeah, this is kind of it for the deck profile. I'm still on this train until I get bored of it, which I doubt, because looking at next set, man, next set's going to be so freaking good for this deck. So I'm super excited to go into set 2 and keep working on this deck. Probably have to rename it so I don't have revision 28 or something by the 5th set or something. But yeah, I'm just excited to see that we're still getting support for Xeon and Chars and new types as well. But that's like a 2-month later problem. We got to lab this deck, probably work on the next revision, and try that out before regionals. With that being said, thank you for watching. Just a quick reminder, if you're not subscribed, you do like this profile, you like me talking about my decisions in the deck and like kind of show a little bit of my playstyle, please leave a like and subscribe. Trying to hit 350, trying to hit 400, as soon as possible. We definitely want to keep this momentum running. So thank you for watching. We'll see you in the next one.